How I went from pet to threat at a toxic job. If you don't know what pet to threat is, three Black women researchers came up with a term, and I'm going to call their names. So, Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Rosemary Phelps. Pet to threat deals with when a Black woman is sought out in the workplace because of her outstanding work abilities. So, she has all these talents, and people seek her out, they refer to her and they just think she's incredible. Okay. So she's treated as the pet. So over time, the Black woman starts outshining other people. And then she is seen in a way and she starts being treated in a way like she is a threat. So the pet's a threat. So I experienced this and I wanted to talk about this because you may also experience or may be experiencing going from pet to threat, but you don't have the language to give. So I wanted to speak to this because number one, I don't want you to feel alone if this is your experience. And it's very empowering to give a name to what you're going through. So to be able to call it out. So I wanted to share with you about my experiences. So maybe you can relate to it, but I also want to talk to you about if that is your experience of going from pet to threat in a work environment, what you could possibly do about it in terms of your options. So again, I am Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor, and more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. So, on my YouTube channel, I talk about ways to support Black women leaving and healing from toxic jobs. So, on my YouTube channel, I'm very honest and transparent about my own experiences in a previous toxic job that I've resigned from, because what I have found is that many Black women can relate to what I'm saying around the world. And again, you're not alone. So, I'm sharing about my experiences. You may relate to them or not, or there might be some parallels to what you're going through, or it might help you identify what you may be encountering at some point in your professional life. So I was working as a clinical psychologist in a school district, and initially I really enjoyed my job. I had great supervisors, very positive experience, but then over time things shifted for the worse, particularly after they retired. So I had the two Black women supervisors, again, outstanding. I'm still very close to them right now. But after they left, there was a shift. And what I noticed was, during the whole time that I was at the school district, I was there for about 13 years. So during the time that I was there, I was often sought out for leadership positions or to give my perspective about things. So I was the only clinical psychologist in the whole school district. And in my unit, I was sought out and again, put in leadership positions, great evaluations when things came up. Oh, Kamani can do everything, right? Okay, now, okay. But again, it shifts. So when they needed me to do things and when I was compliant or didn't call out certain things, then I was seen as the pet. Oh, Kamani does this. Oh, Kamani does that. Now, keep in mind, they didn't refer to me as Dr. Kamani, most of them. And that's a whole nother story. And that's something that you may encounter too, where people refuse to acknowledge your credentials. Okay. So they may value what you bring to the table, but they don't acknowledge your credentials. Okay. So, doing this work and over time, particularly when a lot of racial traumas were very apparent, right? We were seeing so many different racial traumas in real time. And I became very disturbed that our unit, which was the mental health unit, was not saying anything about these racial traumas. And I couldn't understand it because, the unit really emphasized and really highlighted ways that they were at the forefront talking about issues of trauma for kids, but it was crickets in relation to racial trauma, literally crickets. So, I was very concerned about that. I was very vocal about why there was nothing about this information, no trainings, nothing. And so I took the initiative and I said, you know what, I'm going to create a training about this issue because our kids need to be able to talk about it because it's impacting them. They're seeing these things over and over and over again. And what does that do in terms of their own psyche, their sense of safety, their perception of their own future? So I came up with the idea for a training. I reached out to one of my Black women colleagues. We worked together and we developed a training that looked at cultural issues and trauma. So we talked about racial trauma, historical trauma, implicit bias, microaggressions, the gamut. So we developed this training. Now, keep in mind, when we developed this training, our unit never supported the training. So other units supported the training. However, when we were going out in the district and doing these trainings and getting these positive feedbacks, evaluations, which I openly shared with the administrators about the positive evaluations, people even wrote testimonials saying that this training, needed to be mandated district wide. So share this information again. Our unit didn't support it, but at a certain point, when people in the district start talking more and more about the training, then all of a sudden, our unit that I used to be a part of was, let's support the training. Okay. Now, I want to share with you some things that happen so you can also see sometimes people say that they're about the work, but they really are not about the work. It's more so in terms of ego and putting you in your place. So, I'm getting these evaluations, the unit's not supporting, but then all of a sudden they want to support it. And several things happened. So one thing that happened was they said, okay, well, you can share a portion of the training, like a very small portion to our staff. Now, keep in mind, I'm in the mental health unit. So all of the staff within that department are there to support the mental health needs of the students within that school district. But they did not have access to the training, even though other people within the district did. Okay. So they said, okay, you could do a small portion of the training. And when we come into the room, we were kind of thrown off, my colleague and I, because they had set it up to be taped, but didn't ask us if they could tape us or anything like that. So we were like, wait a minute, like what's going on here? So, we were like, we're not okay with you guys taping us. You didn't ask permission or anything like that. So they said, okay, fine. Right. Then I had a supervisor and I was sharing with the supervisor because I was trying to fulfill the need of people within the district saying, how do we get more staff to have access to the training? So, following along with protocol within my unit, I went to my immediate supervisor and I told him, people are requesting for the trainings. I'm forwarding the evaluations. I'm forwarding the testimonials that people are writing. And I said, I'm wondering how we can expand this training in terms of access. And I mentioned that, on the evaluations and in person, many of the staff are saying, how do we make this mandated district wide? And he literally laughed in my face. He literally laughed in my face. Okay. Now, let's move forward a little bit because, again, you have other outside people outside of my unit now asking for the training. So now all of a sudden, I'm more of the pet. Okay. So my colleague who was co-training with me, co-developed the training and was co-presenting with me, at a certain point, she was not able to do that anymore because of her different position. So I was out there training by myself throughout the whole district. The district is huge. Okay. So I was the second largest school district in the nation. So, then the same person who laughed in my face comes back around to me and says, you know what, we want to make that training that that you guys developed. We want to make this a trainer model, and you'll be a trainer and you'll be training other staff to roll out the training. Okay. Now, my colleague and I had serious concerns about that because the content of the training is very sensitive and very heavy. There were times in the training where people were crying, and a lot of very sensitive issues came up because we don't normally talk about issues of racial trauma. So these things were coming up, and so my colleague and I were very attuned to that and very concerned that if someone doesn't have appropriate training or doesn't know how to really contain that as it appears in the training in the room, that could be traumatizing to them. So we had concerns about that in terms of who they were going to select and all that kind of thing. So my colleague and I said, we're not okay with the trainer of trainer models at this time, right? Why did I say that? Because at that point, I went from pet to threat, okay? Just in that quick moment, okay? So my colleague was shielded from it. I don't quite know the full story about that, but full on for me. So all of these negative things started happening, and it became a process of disconnecting me from even being able to do the training at all. So even though it was well received, even though it was helping students, it was how dare this Black woman say that she's not going to do what we want her to do? Okay. So later, I had a meeting with the director at that time of the school, of the mental health unit. And he said to me, the reason why we don't promote this training is that you present it as if it is your training. Okay. Now, keep in mind, it was my initial idea. I took the initiative. I reached out to a Black woman colleague. We co-developed the training. No input from them, none. Okay. So all the research, everything related to that had no input from them. So they were upset. Again, they weren't going to support the training because how dare this Black woman go out there and present that this is her training? How dare her? So because she's doing that, we're just going to shut down the whole training. Okay. So that was an example of how I went from pet, oh, Kamani, right? Oh, she's going to help us. Oh, she's going to do all these other things. And let us factor in when 2020 happened and, oh, let's reach out to Kamani. Okay. So then they reached out to me at that time to really help with DEI types of work. Okay. And you can imagine how performative that was. So just think about, they're saying all these different things. Oh, Kamani wants you to take the lead. Oh, whatever you say, we're going to do. Okay. But keep in mind what happened to me later down the line. So as I mentioned before, I was kept from doing a training. I was kept from working with a program that was specifically for Black students, even though I was a vocal advocate for Black students. So because I dared to, again, not say that it was their training, okay, and I did not do the trainer of trainers that they wanted to do because of concerns that people that they may have chosen may not have been prepared to really handle the heaviness of the work. So how dare I? And I became the threat. And when I became the threat, I've done other videos about this, about what happened to me. So the threat was, we're going to put her in her place. And not only we're going to put her in her place, we're going to try to humiliate her, and we're going to try to push her out of the job. Okay. So all these things happened to me, just as similar things may be happening to you. And again, I want to be open about these experiences. They may not be the same exact thing, but my hope is that you're able to see how the shift happened. The shift might be happening to you right now at your job. If this is happening to you and you are like done with this, like I'm done with this pet to threat, I know what it is now. I have a name to it. I can relate to what you're saying. I don't want to be in an environment like this. Then if this is you, there's options for you. Okay. So I wish I knew about these options when I was going through it, but I didn't. And apparently I had to go through these things so that I was able to develop certain things. So I'm partnering now with Marissa Price, and we are launching the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, which is May 17th and 18th. So you may be going through pet to threat. You may encounter other very disrespectful, demoralizing things at your job. And you may be saying, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. This is not what I worked so hard for. I want a different life for myself. I want a different job. I want a different professional opportunity. So the Job Liberation Summit helps you do that. So you may be coming in broke down, beat down, defeated, all those other things. You will leave the summit with a plan. So in terms of knowing about different resources, knowing about ways to replace your income, knowing what to do about your health insurance, your life insurance, all these other things, and addressing those fears that you might have for leaving. Because the fears are real. I'm not going to lie to you. The fears are real. It's very difficult. But I want to walk with you through this journey. Okay. Now, I also want to mention this, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. No one will know you're there because none of the participants will have their faces on camera. The names will not be listed. If you want to make a comment or ask a question, you can change your name, because I know that it's very important for us as Black women to watch our back. So no one will know you're there. Okay. So if you want to be a part of the summit. So again, transform from being miserable with your current life because of your job. And again, the job can become all consuming because you think about how much time you're at the job, but then how much time you spent outside of the job, thinking about the job, processing about the job, dreading the job, all that kind of stuff. And you may be at a point in your life where you're like, I'm done with this. And or you might notice or be aware, or even family members or friends might have said to you or pointed out ways that you're becoming a different person because of the job. So, again, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, May 18th and 19th. So, keep an eye out. So, information is coming out more and more about all of our speakers. So, we have Stephanie Perry, Alicia Renese, Anne-Marie Archer, the anti-HR lady. And we're going to be talking about not only your mindset, but again, how do you replace your income? Most of us stay at these toxic jobs because of the fear about how we're going to make money. I don't want you to just up and leave unless you are in immediate danger. That is not what I'm saying to you. As Black women, we know we are planners, right? We are organizers. We get our stuff together. This summit provides an opportunity for you to get your stuff together, start making a plan so that whenever you're ready to go, that you'll be ready, you'll be prepared. Okay, so get ready. So again, the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, May 18th and 19th. The information is in the description section, the early registration. And you want to save some of your coins too for early registration. So check out early registration, click in the link, and you can get in. Okay, so again, no one will know you're there. So check it out. And also, I'm asking you to please share this video with at least 2 other Black women. We need to help our sisters out because there's so many of us out here in these toxic jobs, okay? I'm talking to you about a way out, about options for you, and options for our sisters too. So please share this video with at least 2 other Black women. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And give this video a thumbs up. Okay, so I will see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.